Rosemary Jean Thompson, and welcome to UBC's Next Big Thing. With me is Dr. Zach Walsh. He's an assistant professor within the Center for the Advancement of Psychological Science and Law. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
You were here not too long ago, and you were talking about marijuana and its use. We were talking about recreational use and some research you're doing around that topic. Today I wanted to talk about the medicinal use of marijuana and the research you're doing around that.
Recent surveys of the Canadian general public suggest that between 500,000 and 1 million Canadians report using cannabis for therapeutic purposes. And the Health Canada program has roughly about 30,000 registrants, and it's gone really up dramatically over the last few years. They're changing the regulations, and they expect, and I think everyone expects, that that will result in even a further increase. After decades of sort of stigmatization and marginalization, we're seeing increased interest in the therapeutic potential of what really is a very ancient medicine.
Well, that's interesting, because I know of a friend who would normally never be associated with drugs in any way is using therapeutic marijuana for cancer. And it seemed to be the only medicine that took away the extreme pain that he was experiencing.
The therapeutic benefits, I think there's more and more research suggesting that for diverse conditions, cannabis can be therapeutically helpful.
What about your research, though? What is it that you're looking at?
Well, as a psychologist, I'm more interested in the behavioral aspect. So there's a lot of people who are looking at some of the basic medicines. There's pharmaceutical companies that are thinking some of the next big medicines may come from cannabis and cannabis extracts. It's not just one medicine. It's actually more like a whole system of medicines that works on the body's endocannabinoid system. So there's a whole regulating system within the body that's based on cannabinoids that we develop inside our bodies naturally, and also the cannabinoids that we get from outside mostly through cannabis.
So maybe expand on that, because I've actually never heard that term before.
Yeah, so there's receptors throughout the body, and a lot of them in the brain, for cannabinoids, THC being one of the more well-known ones.
And this does what in our body?
It's a kind of a complex effect, which is why it's taken a while for science to latch onto it. But it's sort of a feedback effect where it tells different systems in the body to stop doing what they're doing or slow down on what they're doing. So in the gut, it can work to reduce nausea. It can work to reduce some sorts of stomach pain. It can impede some of the pain messages that are sent throughout the body. It can reduce anxiety. So a lot of the ways the body responds to stress, the cannabinoid system tends to calm those. And when we see things like inflammation, again, anxiety, pain, nausea, a lot of those are the body responding to various stimuli. And what the cannabinoid system does is it kind of dampens some of those responses.
So that's why the use of marijuana will make
tends to make people relaxed. It makes them maybe forget a little bit, right? So in the case of traumatic memories, it can kind of dampen some of those memories. And there's trials right now of cannabis for PTSD. To reduce traumatic memories. Can reduce some of the inflammation associated with arthritis. Yeah, it's really diverse. You go on and on. I encourage people, if they're interested, to look it up. There's a lot of good information out there. More and more doctors, physicians are looking at getting informed about cannabis because their patients are coming to them with questions. And there's so much that needs to be known about it. I mean, it's been forbidden for research for a while, or at least tightly regulated. It's still pretty tightly regulated, but more and more research is being done. A lot of it on animals, but the stuff I'm interested in is how it affects people.
So what are you doing around that then?
Well, we're working with the Green Canopy Research and Development Company, Be Kind Dispensary, that's here in Kelowna, working with some of their members to find out how cannabis is working for primarily looking at pain patients right now. So we want to know, how does cannabis reduce pain? Does it reduce it directly, something like aspirin? Typically in medical cannabis, the high, the part of it that people use recreationally is called a side effect, which is kind of unusual. So one of my questions is, how do the side effects, the euphoria, the mood alteration, how does that play into the pain relief? Is it actually something that interferes with it, maybe makes it a harder medicine to use? Is it something that adds to the pain relief? And I think we don't know those answers yet.
So how long will your research go on for? And when you walk away from this, what are you hoping to be able to provide the medical community or the community in general?
One thing we want to do is increase the specificness with which we can administer cannabis medicine. So who is it going to work for? And part of understanding who it's going to work best for is understanding how it works. Does it work better for people who have a lot of anxiety about their pain? We know that cognitive factors like worrying, catastrophizing about pain, those things can make pain really worse. Does cannabis work on those pathways to pain as well? Sometimes with pain, people will become less active and do fewer things, and then that makes the pain worse, particularly when I think about things like arthritis. Does cannabis help that? Does it make it worse? These are all things we don't know and that we need to find out. So that's one of the things I'm interested in. I'm also very interested in just seeing how people are using medical cannabis. So we have this growing registration in the program, and even outside of the program, a lot of Canadians are reporting they're using cannabis to help with their health concerns. What exactly are they doing? Before we can understand this potentially powerful medicine, there's a lot of rich information I think we can get from a patient-centered approach that asks people, what are they getting from medical cannabis?
So how long do you see this research going on for?
Well, there's a lot of questions. So I think many years. We're just wrapping up one study of barriers to accessing medical cannabis. So looking at some of the reasons people use and what are some of the problems they've encountered. Now we're looking at some of that pain stuff that I was discussing. How are people finding it effective for pain? I get a lot of inspiration from my students and from developments in the literature, and I hope to keep up this program of research for a while.
Okay, well, if it's going to be something that our legal system's looking at or the medical system's looking at, is it the right thing to be doing? And research helps.
Exactly. We've been living in a world of fantasy on both sides, where people are exaggerating the benefits, people are exaggerating the risks. As it's becoming more and more widely used, let's see what's really going on. What are the real risks and benefits associated with cannabis use?
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dr. Welch.
Well, thank you for having me.
That for us, and that wraps it up for this edition of UBC's Next Big Thing. See you next time.